I find it amazing that when it comes to spiritual things, that there are so many people that debate, right? Especially against Christianity, and that makes me think. I don't know about other people. I don't know about African spiritualists. I don't know about other people from other nations, what they believe and so forth. But when I'm listening to the world arguing against Christianity, then I would sit down and say, perhaps there is something there, right? Perhaps there is something worth looking into, right? So, one of the most famous questions, which I hate talking about, is why should the Bible be considered inspired by God? Why not other books? You know, Psychology has been there for long, mathematics, philosophy. Let's stick to psychology and philosophy, because when we look at psychology, we're talking about the mental state of a person, right? When we look at philosophy, we're talking about morals, right? So when we talk about, and when we look at Alexandra, he deals with this in a nutshell. Talking about historic and history. So when we look at moral issues and stuff like that, they teach you what's right and wrong, how you're supposed to feel when a particular thing happens, what would you do when this happens, and so forth. And now you sit down and you look at the Bible, and you when you look at the Bible gives you a rule that you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. When you look at the Torah, it's a lot of you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. The civil laws, the moral laws, and so forth. And the clarity comes when you study the prophets, right? When you start from the King Saul and going down, and you realize that actually the reason why there's a lot of you shouldn't, is because God was preparing us being part of the nations in the world, right? That we have certain laws that we observe. We are clean. We preserve ourselves. We worship the one true God, and so forth. So that in itself helps us in our moral sense, right? How to live with one another and so forth. So why not consider philosophy as well as inspired? See, the difference is, I had this conversation with someone. The difference is philosophy is written by men. Yes, the foundation of philosophy is the Bible. And people don't talk about that, but the foundation of philosophy is the Bible. If you look at philosophy and the principles that they are putting in place, and you take the Bible and you put it on the other side, you realize that but these things are similar, or they are the same, right? So whatever.